It's really neat how music does play with our emotions, if you will. It really does. You can be at a low and end up being at a high, or be at a high and end up being at a low because of what you're listening to.
The behavioral healthcare aspect of that is really beautiful. There's so much in music that will release a safe experience of emotion. And for guys like me who were raised in a stiff upper lip family, to not express or even try to feel, I guess, a lot of those, quote, negative emotions, anger, fear, music is such a relief because you can listen and be as angry or scared as you want in safety.
Yes.
And you have that really complete experience of very beautiful. I mean, it's chemical, it's brain chemistry. Let's face it. It's not. There's no judgment on it. Those emotions we feel are just there to guide us. You know, back in the day, if it was fear, we were going to take care of the family, make sure we're inside the cave, and the tiger stays outside. And anger can do amazing things too to motivate you. But if you let it get the better of you and you start acting out on it, it's gone over the line. Music doesn't have a requirement to act out on emotion. It just wants you to experience them. And it's quite safe and effective and very immediate, actually. Once you realize what's going on, you can't resist, you know. We're built to respond to sound and rhythm. And I think in many ways it's like having another kind of food to feed us and care for us in a way.
Oh, yes. That just made me feel like a comfort. When you said food, it reminded me of comfort food. Just like a song can bring that comfort to you or take you down memory lane. It's nostalgic in the same regards.
Yeah. I mean, we need that. I don't think in our culture we tell too many stories anymore. But there are cultures where stories are passed down for generations. And music seems to be, at least in America, the way that we've captured some of those stories for posterity. The popular music of most eras is connected with something going on in America, in the world. And it's always there echoing the story of that time. I'm thinking about the great musicals and the music that was written in the early part of the 20th century, and how that told the story of the two world wars and then what happened afterward. And then we got to Woodstock, and we had that amazing protest movement and music around the Vietnam War. And for the first time, people were openly advocating for peace and not conflict. And then, we moved into the what I'll call the sort of the hip hop era, which has taken over popular music now and is giving so many people a place to be able to feel things that are taboo in most normal society, but that are actual real life stories and real life feelings. And we've got rap poetry that's laying it down for all of the rest of us to be able to at least remember. If we weren't in the culture at the time, we can look back and say, hey, the rap of the 70s and the 80s, there was some power in that stuff. So it's there caring for us and reminding us of where we've been, where we have to go. I think in a way that's really important right now in America. We need to remember our human authenticity and our connection to each other, and not just the angst we feel if we live in the wrong color state or whatever it is, you know. Who needs that?
Right. It really is a way to connect us to each other. Absolutely.
You know, I've had this experience, and I don't know why I'm sort of motivated to talk about it. More than once, I've had to give a performance that involves patriotic music. And over the course of maybe 30 or 40 years now, even, I've either been in a band or playing solo on stage where the topic of national music comes up. And I've been really interested to see the response of people over time to things like the Star Spangled Banner. It's so sort of there at most sporting events that when Colin Kaepernick took a knee and it all of a sudden became the focus of a lot of attention, I think we started to think carefully about our national music and whether or not it really belongs to all of us, It's really raising some interesting questions. But it's amazing to go to, like I got to see my son graduate from boot camp back in Quantico. He's a Marine Corps Reserve officer now. And there are lots of opportunities for patriotic music in a setting like that. But to a man, to a woman, to a person, the response to the Star-Spangled Banner when you have pledged your life to the country is absolutely collaborative. I mean, everybody responds the same way. And it's great to see that that response still exists on such a heart level for men and women who pledge their lives for our country. And I still see that too in other places, but it really encourages me to know that that music is sort of unifying us. If you've ever been to a military funeral, you have the same experience when taps is played. And there's something that music, that simple music, brings back to us our interconnected need for one another, and how we really do lean on each other and rely on each other in those moments that are very difficult. If music can remind us of that, it's really doing us a great service.
Yes, I absolutely agree. I really am excited to continue this wandering with you. So far, I keep getting goosebumps. Everything is resonating, and I am enjoying my time with you very much. We're going to take a quick break, have a word from our sponsors, and when we return, we'll continue our wandering with our special guest, Bill Protzmann. We'll be right back, you guys.
Author Kathleen Watts, a.k.a. Thought Continuum, shares a double abduction experience in her book, Catch Me If You Can, a story of alien abduction and culprit plunder. This 1976 true life account of a close encounter in northern Utah near Hill Air Force Base. Imagine driving home from the movies with your spouse when your car suddenly stops working, and it's in that very same moment that you realize you are the only thing animated. Catch Me If You Can, the 5th anniversary edition with lead-in material for the upcoming release of Payback is a Glitch from award-winning author Kathleen Watts. Get your copy today. Log on to thoughtcontinuum.com. That's thoughtcontinuum.com.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation. And Angioprim is the result, a safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
Hey, is that a new music app?
Yeah, check it out. Surfer Music Discovery. It links to thousands of online stations, but the twist is you see the song names and artists that are now playing live.
That's different. No guessing. Looks like a waterfall of music.
So many formats. Rock, oldies, country, R&B, jazz, and a whole lot more.
How's that spelled?
Surfer. SURFR.
Is it expensive?
It's free. No need to sign up or sign in.
Get the Surfer Music app free from Google Play or the App Store.
This is Richard Dolan, and I want to brag for just a second about the incredible authors I publish under Richard Dolan Press. Some of the most innovative and well-researched books in the field of UFOs and beyond that you'll find anywhere in the world. Incredible UFO encounters, the cover-up, the experiences by ordinary people, Russian UFOs, psychic phenomena, consciousness, synchronicities, and owls. Yeah, it's all there, and it's all fascinating reading because I would never publish a book that isn't. To learn more, go to richarddolanpress.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. Hello, and welcome to Phenomenon Radio, the show.
Welcome back to Soul Wanderings, hosted here on the KGRAradio.com. We are wandering with our guest this evening, Bill Protzmann. He is a performer, a musician, and I know technically, Bill, you're not a therapist, but you're definitely doing some therapy work.
Well, yeah, I've got to admit it. I try to stay away from the word because, you know, I have such amazing colleagues who are music therapists. You know, they have the master's or PhD, they are board certified, they're licensed in their state. You can accept insurance because you're doing a therapeutic relationship with a patient, a client. And what amazing research has come out from their efforts in areas like autism, which is, I mean, gosh, I have a family friend who has an autistic son who's turned 22, I think, this year. And that's 22 years of a life journey that you just can't predict. But music therapy works so well with like autism and dementia and Alzheimer's, and it's provided behavioral health care for so many people. I mean, here at Camp Pendleton, we have a music therapy organization that has stood up a band for wounded warriors, and guys with, you know, like one arm and whatever are playing rock music at a level that is extraordinary. And that's thanks to music therapists that are working hard to make it possible. So yes. You know, hooray for therapy.
Yes, I agree.
My ethos is like, hey, if I can teach you that the music that you love has a therapeutic effect on you and offer you some guidance if you want to put that to work more wisely, well, that's me. That's how I operate. I'm a real believer that we have opportunities for our own self-care that are pretty much dormant for the most part. But we can wake them up, and music, of course, is so present, so necessary to us. We just couldn't live without sound and rhythm. So,
do you feel it's important to actually play the instrument or sing to have better results? Or do you feel like someone can just sit and listen and appreciate and have those same kind of results with the music?
Well, I can offer you the science on that as well as my own experience, which is slightly the same. The science on it is that if you can make a vibration happen in your head, then that's the best possible thing. So singers, of course, have all the advantages. But I have great fun with crowds where we all play the kazoo together.
Oh my gosh, how fun.
But it's an easy instrument and just gets everybody making music. And so the collective impact of that and the connections and all of that are wonderful. But there you are with this funny buzzing thing in your mouth. And that's as close as you can get to stimulating your own eardrums, your own vibrational energy. So yeah, the science is play an instrument is probably the best, or sing probably the best. Then secondly, play an instrument that you can feel like vibrating. If you're playing a guitar, it's like vibrating in your arms. That's incredible. That vibration, having it that close to your heart. There's kind of a reason that you hold the guitar that way.
Mm-hmm.
But wind players can do that too, and string players, you get it right there. It seems like most of our instruments, with the possible exception of drumming, happen close to our heart and head. If you watch people play the really big drums or have been able to experience that, you can actually feel that vibration. I mean, just the big, what are they called? Koto drums that the Japanese drummers use, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It's giant drums. And when you hit one, the vibration, like you can feel it inside your body. And that's beautiful too. But here's the crazy thing. As I've progressed, I find that I'm taking advantage more of our ability to remember music and trigger its physiological effects just by remembering it. So once you have a practice around a piece of music, and that could be as simple as remembering a love song that you liked, for example, when you were a teenager, that's a music practice. Once you can remember that song that way, the physiological effects that are connected to that music happen for you immediately. So as I've gotten older, I take advantage of that more and more frequently because it isn't always possible to sit down at the piano and play some music or put on a playlist and just be with it for 20 minutes or a half an hour or even an hour.
Mm.
So there's yes and no around that. I don't think that they've actually measured the difference, because if you can get to that physiological effect, which is what you want with music, then you've done the job. And yeah, it's probably better if you're singing or playing an instrument than if you're listening to it or just remembering it. Maybe it feels better if it's a present vibration versus a remembered one. But I mean, you're going to get the effect. And the effect is so quick. It's not like, there's no delay. When our ears hear something, our lizard brain, the amygdala that's been around for thousands of years, that thing responds, bang, right away. And it's a lot longer in relative brain time before we actually have thoughts about what we heard. By the time we've thought about it, that sound has already affected us. So, it's like the whole science of this and the research, we want to sort of feed the cerebral cortex with information that can reassure us that, yeah, in fact, what the amygdala did was right on the money. And here's why, and we can explain it. But hey, that's already happened from the moment you heard the sound.
Yeah.
It's immediate. I mean, really instantaneous.
It's incredible. So explain to me what you're actually doing with your gift as a musician. When you actually call it music care, correct?
Music care, yes.
So tell me about that journey. What's music care all about, and what are you doing with it?
I guess the best way of answering that question, AJ, is to say music care is like school. It's really a terrible way to say it because it's a lot more fun than sitting in a classroom. But you're learning to do things or maybe reacquaint yourself with things that you do anyway that aren't necessarily at the top of everybody's list of what's important in school. And back when I was growing up, we still had music in school, and we were offered, a choice of instruments to play in like 3rd and 4th grade. Pretty rare these days, unless you live in a school district or go to a charter school that's got a lot of money. But music was part of how things happened. We were just exposed to it and encouraged, if we wanted to make some. That has sort of gone by the wayside. We have more focus now in education on science, technology, and engineering and math. And we're leaving the arts aside, I think, to our own detriment. Because human beings at their core are basically creative, artistic people.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, we're intellectuals and we learn to do that stuff too, but you can take any kid and put a drum in front of them, and it's not like you have to explain what to do. They'll start banging on the drum. Why? Well, who cares? It's like, why not? Let's encourage that, and maybe help, as our kids get older, help encourage them to connect that activity of making sound with the health benefits that come from it. I know I kind of talked about my mom in a funny way, but one of her gifts was being able to take very small kids and actually get them to make music at a piano. That doesn't seem too hard, but you have to deal with things like attention span, and the physical nature of making a pleasing sound is actually really difficult the first time you try. It's a little bit easier on a drum, but on a piano, you really have to pay attention to how you're touching the piano keyboard. And then when you start to put that together with whether or not the sound was pleasing, you're involving parts of your brain that you wouldn't otherwise involve. And then you start to read music and translate that into how it works on the keyboard. All of these cognitive effects that take place in the process of learning the piano are incredibly powerful, and especially on a developing brain. It's a marvelous thing. You've got motor skills and audible skills, and you're just learning how to put all this together. And Mom, bless her heart, was able to do that in like 3-minute chunks, 5-minute chunks, where she'd work with the child in a group kind of clinic situation where she'd have one child on the bench and a bunch of others watching.
It looks like we lost Bill. Apparently there's some weather situations going on where he's at, and that may be the cause to the reason that we lost him. So hopefully we'll be able to connect with him again here in just a moment. But in the meantime, I want to encourage you guys to head over to the chat room, because there's always great conversation there. But kgraradio.com/chat. I want you guys to share with us in the chat room, what type of music do you like? What do you listen to when you're celebrating or having a day, an off day, a sad day, a happy day? What do you listen to when you celebrate? How does music affect you and your daily life? What does that look like for you? And how has music influenced you with your experiences in life? Like I was explaining to Bill. Bill, are you there yet? As I was explaining to Bill earlier, music really is completely meaningful to me. I have gone through, like everyone, some really heavy things in life, but I have always gone to music to get me through it, because it puts me in a place to be still, which is not something I do very well unless I'm forced, but to really sit and listen, not just to the notes of the music, but to the lyrics. People literally pour their heart and soul into what they do when they're passionate about music. It definitely is a beautiful gift that we have. While we are able to get another connection with Bill, we're going to take a quick break, you guys, until we can bring him back on so we can actually have the conversation with our guest. But in the meantime, make sure you guys share with me. I'd love to hear from you. And if you can't do it now and you're listening later, email me at soulwanderings111@gmail.com. I love it when my listeners email me. Let's have that conversation. In the meantime, we'll be right back while we get another connection with our guest, Bill Protzmann.
2019 True Legends Conference with Steve Quayle, George Knapp, Chase Kletzky, Michael Schratt, Timothy Alberino, L.A. Marzulli, Hugo DeGaris, and more. In Branson, Missouri, this September the 13th through the 15th is sold out. But wait, you can still join us as Gen 6 Productions invites you to the 2019 True Legends Conference virtually. With the Mansion Theater sold out from the comfort of your own home, you can join 3,000 ticket holders live by going to gen6.com/store/live streaming and get your video on demand live stream ticket, get a free bonus, and save money. Use promo code KGRA and save $20 when you pick up your 2019 streaming pass. Then you will get video on demand access to the entire True Legends 2018 conference. With tickets sold out, you can join us virtually, save $20, and get 2 conferences for the price of 1. Log on to gen6.com/store/live streaming. Use promo code KGRA20 and save $20 and get 2 conferences for the price of 1. The 2019 True Legends Conference, a Gen 6 production.
Hi, Matt Ray with America's First News here, and I have great news for those of you who suffer with debilitating migraine headaches, maybe a loved one or your child does. MigraLief, the nutritional migraine supplement everyone's talking about, now can be found at the vitamin shop stores nationwide and Meijer in the Midwest. For almost 2 decades, hundreds of thousands of migraine sufferers have benefited from MigraLief, and thousands of neurologists and headache specialists recommend it. Why is it popular? It's drug-free and addresses the specific nutritional needs of adults and children who suffer migraines. What's even better, MigraLief comes in a formula you can take daily and one on the spot as needed. So if you get migraines, get your life back on track. Go to MIG911.com. That's MIG and the numbers 911.com. That's also where you can read the testimonials. Or head on over to your local vitamin shop store nationwide or Meijer in the Midwest. If you get migraines, do yourself a favor. Change your life with MigraLief.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station. Salt Lake City, Utah. Van Buren, Arkansas.
Hi, it's AJ from Vibes, Mind, Body, Spirit. Have you been searching for unique items to create or add to your sacred space? What about tools for your holistic healing? Or those one-of-a-kind magical ingredients to manifest your desires? Well, look no more, because Vibes has a variety of items to assist you in your spiritual journey. From crystals to candles, incense to books, tapestries to jewelry, OnlineVibes.com has what you're seeking. We even have some thoughtful and mindful gifts to share with your friends and family too. Visit us at OnlineVibes.com from the comfort of your home, or give us a call at 385-244-1099 to have your order beautifully packaged and sent directly to you or a loved one. And right now, take advantage of the coupon code KGRA at checkout to receive 15% off any order. Remember, online, VIBEZ.com.
Hey, is that a new music app?
Yeah, check it out. Surfer Music Discovery. It links to thousands of online stations, but the twist is you see the song names and artists that are now playing live.
That's different. No guessing. Looks like a waterfall of music.
So many formats. Rock, oldies, country, R&B, jazz, and a whole lot more.
How's that spelled?
Surfer. SURFR.
Is it expensive?
It's free. No need to sign up or sign in.
Get the Surfer Music app free from Google Play or the App Store.
Now you have the inside contact for alternative talk radio. The Planet. KGRARadio.com.
Soul Wanderings on KGRA Digital Broadcasting, Salt Lake City, Utah, Hudson Valley, New York. And you can find Soul Wanderings here as well as many other platforms for your convenience like iTunes, TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, and of course, our official YouTube page. Make sure you guys check out the KGRA Radio on YouTube for all of the latest show archives. But wherever you find yourself joining us from tonight, thank you for being here. We're happy to have you wandering here with us this evening. If you guys have questions for our guest, we are heading into the second half of our wandering and still have so much time for you to ask some questions. So go to kgraradio.com/chat. We are visiting with Bill Protzmann this evening. He is a musician and performer who assists others in their healing journey, somewhat like me, but on a different platform. This is really exciting for me to have you here tonight, Bill, because we have different modalities that we're using, but the end result is still the same. We both are passionate about assisting others in their healing. So I'm very happy to have you here tonight.
It's such a pleasure to be here, AJ. Thank you so much.
I have some questions from the chat room. I kept telling people, join us and ask, and they are asking. Are you ready?
Let's go. Yeah.
All right. So one of the questions is, have you ever taught music to kids? And the same person wants to know who were some of your all-time favorite artists. So 2 questions.
Wow. Well, all-time favorite artists. We could talk for a long, long time about
right.
that. But
I was wondering.
You know, I've been influenced by composers, I think, more than artists. Although more recently, it's hard to separate in pop music, for example, the composer from the artist. But how about "Happy" from Pharrell Williams? Is that not a great song? I mean, there are just
such a good song. It's catchy. It's so catchy.
It's so incredible, right? And we need songs like that. I'm a big fan of Amazing Grace, however many people have played that. But kids these days. So one of the kids that just inspires me so much is Billie Eilish.
Oh, my goodness. Love her.
Right? And she's just speaking in a way that nobody else has yet. And right along with that is Lizzo, who I discovered recently, too, at a Tiny Desk concert.
Yes. I love her confidence, and I love how she does not care what other people think. She's about being herself and empowering others. It's so beautiful.
So much. And, you know, like anybody who can play and sing like Harry Connick Jr. gets my nod, and Ella Fitzgerald, and just you name all the jazz artists, and they're all great. And, you know, being a classical piano player, I resonate with music that's deep and heavy like Rachmaninoff and Mahler and stuff that most normal people don't listen to. But have I taught kids? Well, here we go back to Mom again. So Mom would encourage me to come and perform at her piano recitals when I was an adult. And it's so much fun to do that and to be there and sort of work with kids that way, that she brought me in from time to time to do like classes and things. And it really broke down my resistance. I don't ever consider myself as a piano teacher, but being able to work with kids and watch them open up to the potential for music is just fascinating. And whether you're doing that with drums or kazoos or just all with the piano going for it, the aspect of play in music, it's so much present with kids. And being able to spark that up or be a part of it, I feel more like when I'm working with kids, they're encouraging me to play in a way that's new. And not just play music, but to play, just to engage in play.
Yeah.
And that's incredible. We used to drum with the kids here at the house. You can get a drum pretty cheap. You can get a few of them for not a lot of money. And drumming with your kids is something that's just amazing. You'll
even
learn
wooden
things.
spoons on pans, right?
Right. Well, just sitting there. I mean, you can, you know, slapping your thighs, just sitting there and slapping your thighs one at a time. And that can be an amazing thing if you're doing like just what are those games we used to play? Like telephone and stuff. Do those with rhythm. And that can become a beautiful experience too, and
Yes.
really instructive. I mean, you learn things about someone that expresses themselves through music or through drumming that you'd never learn any other way. And when it's your kid, you go, wow, really? Bill's feeling that? How cool is that? Hope that answers the question.
Yeah, so good. So good. And I really feel working with kids is, I mean, it's amazing for them, but think about for yourself as well. I mean, growing up is challenging. We were talking about that during the break, and bringing yourself back to that childlike state is very therapeutic.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And, I grew up in a family where play wasn't really the top of the list. So I have to go back as an adult and kind of remind myself what it means to play.
Yeah, good. I'm glad that you're having that opportunity. That's awesome. So, KGRA is known for a lot of talk on UFO or paranormal activity or anything anomalous. So we have some people in the chat room who are curious how music can be used in that kind of realm, in the UFO or paranormal activity. Do you have any experience with that at all? Or even on the spiritual end of it, where we talk about a lot of that here on Soul Wanderings?
I don't have any direct experience with music and UFOs, but I have some scientific curiosity about it. I think to start with that, forget how long ago this was now, but they interviewed the woman who worked with Carl Sagan to assemble the music that is flying into space on Voyager. The gold LP that's like on that spaceship that's now left our solar system, that contains recordings of just some amazing music made by human beings and messages to other people and stuff. And I love the fact that we decided that music was the way we wanted to communicate. We wanted to let people know the culture of the earth has this art that you can hear, Who knows if it'll ever be played? But we go from there to something I've been reading on recently. Do you know what a phonon is? Phonon? This is really, really out there. They're a particle in quantum physics.
I was going to say it's something scientific.
It is. It's a sound particle. And keep in mind, it's not really a particle. It's like a theoretical thing. Mm-hmm. But they can observe them. They can observe these quantum sound particles, bits, whatever they are. And it's marvelous that sound is that deeply connected to the fundamental stuff about, us, our universe. And there it is. We got photons, we got phonons. So somewhere in between Voyager on its journey out into wherever, and the quantum physicists' research and exploration, I think we're going to encounter sounds that we've never heard before. I know, because I love watching science fiction movies, that we're listening for those sounds coming back all the time. The SETI array down in New Mexico, and a lot of the research into extraterrestrial life and stuff involves listening, listening for radio waves. And it's sort of ironic and marvelous in the same breath. I would love to know more about that and become involved in that in some way. But for now, I'm just fascinated by the fact that sound is becoming a part of the scientific spectrum, if you will, of what we need to know more about.
Right. It's actually proven now instead of just emotionally suggested.
Right. We have this response that we can measure in human beings, but now it's like, wow, well, we're listening. Frasier was right. I'm listening.
That's so good. Another question, and it has to do with spirituality. Does each instrument have a different spiritual effect on the spirit side of things?
Oh, wow. What a great question.
Yeah.
I love the insight that's in there. The research is that the music we love is the most powerful for us. So that's individual. 7 and however many billion of us there are, probably 7 and however many billion of us there are in terms of favorite music. But they actually use the word love in a scientific paper. So love being one of those crazy things that we don't really have too much science to explain, but it does connect us to the human spirit and open us in a way to the authentic, whatever the authentic is. I tend to feel that authentic is more focused on what we can't explain with science and what we can explain by saying that there's a spiritual component out there. And if that's human spirit, it's certainly not religious, but it's the otherness.
Right.
And there's science saying, well, it's in effect the otherness of the music that you really appreciate is why it's so powerful for you. Mm-hmm. And go science, because they're tipping the hat there to this thing that we can't yet explain, consciousness, I don't know, whatever you call it, that connects us more deeply with everything other than what we can see, touch, hear, feel, taste, smell. The nature of the observation is that just by observing something, it changes the thing. So you can never really get a true read on that thing, because you're looking at it and messing up the experiment just by observing it. And I suspect with spirituality, that's not the case. And that by opening to something like love, when you talk about music that affects you deeply or people that affect you deeply, you're opening up the gate beyond science and saying, yes, this is a gateway to the other, the spiritual nature of who we really might be. Let's go there. And if music can connect us to it, how incredible is that? There's a reason it's been used in church to have us to have a transcendent experience for all these years.
It's so profound.
It's just so cool, And having said that, I mean, if you're thinking of spiritual music, for person A, that might mean Amazing Grace. For person B, it might mean death metal. For person C, it's gangsta rap.
Right.
Who cares if it opens you to the experience and it comes from a place of love, right? Isn't that a spiritual experience right there?
Absolutely. I'm curious because Tool came out with the new album, I think, last week? Really recently, this week maybe?
Recently dropped.
Are you familiar with Tool?
I am. I'm looking now because I want to see what the album might be.
Okay, so I just started listening to it today, and the reason why I even bring it up is because they have a lot of music outside of the lyrics, but their lyrics are intensely deep. But I was just listening to the music part of it, and you say a spiritual experience. I was just laying there, preparing myself for meditation. I thought, I'll just, listen to a song or two to get me in the mood. Wow. I just really enjoy Tool anyway, but you brought up death metal, which I really like also.
Yeah.
I really like all kinds of music, but this, I just want you to check out that new album. That's pretty cool.
Are you talking about the one Fear Inoculum?
Yes.
Okay, because I just pulled that up because I wanted to see, and here's a video of 1,000 people at Burning Man rocking out to it.
Of course.
And if Burning Man isn't like
a whole other experience,
it's like the iconic New Age experience. So I love that it affects so many people in sort of different ways, but they're all responding to the same stimulus.
Right.
It just takes some people into a New Age place and some people into a meditative place, and I guess there's some people who listen to metal and just get happy about it. And for me, that happy experience happens with alt rock. I love the complexity and the virtuosity of today's rock bands. It just blows me away. So yeah, spiritual experience.
Well, and I think Maynard is like a lyrical genius. I really, really do. But anyway, moving on.
Poetry. Okay.
Yes.
We're getting really deep here, you guys. So if you're not into it, no worries. But it's there. It's there. It's happening.
Is. And it's really neat that music it applies to every human being. It just does. Everyone's had an experience with music on one level or another. But before we got interrupted from the disconnect, we were talking about your music care and what you're doing with that. And I really do want to focus on your work because I feel like it's very powerful and very meaningful. So I'm not sure exactly where we left off because that was, half an hour ago. But you work with several different types of people having different experiences.
Sure. I do what I do, first of all, for the love of it, because it's so amazing to watch someone come alive on a new idea that grabs them in every way. It grabs you physically, mentally, emotionally, even spiritually. And the experience of seeing that happen, it's it's amazing. It's just really incredible. If you're a parent and you've watched your kid light up from time to time, you've probably had that experience. But I do this, truth be told, almost for the selfish reason of watching people light up like that. Mm-hmm. Isn't that crazy?
No.
But, there's nothing like it. It's just to have that experience and to be part of it and share it with someone. So there are people who need that experience. They really do. Veterans who are coming back from the war, from all eras. We have veterans back to Korea still alive with us now, and all of them resonate with the experience of coming away, coming alive in some way. And I've been present for so many of those, offering a transformational pathway to someone who's in that place. The odds are that they're going to be very receptive, and they'll be able to do great things with that. So offering the music care work to a class of homeless people, for example, gets us an opportunity to work together on the less Maslow pyramid kinds of things that you might find a homeless person dealing with: housing, of course, and food, and all of the things that are complexities of modern life. You're reassembling when you're a renewed attitude of meaning, and music can help restore that meaning when it's gone. Or when it comes to behavioral health care, you can talk about those things with music that helps you focus. As you mentioned earlier, one of my students who's become a friend deals with schizophrenia. And for him to dial back, he's got to layer up tracks of binaural beats to slow his mind down to the place where he can actually communicate with the rest of us normal people, And it's wonderful that he knows that and uses it, right? It's almost like taking medicine, but it's not. But it has the same effects of sort of calming him to where he can focus. So in that place of needing something desperately, this music care work is an amazing thing. It also works in places where people who simply can't respond in terms of communication respond to music. And there's a marvelous documentary out there called Alive Inside, where music therapists have filmed themselves making music or sharing recordings with folks who are suffering from dementia or Alzheimer's. Mm. And as those people listen to music, they go from a state of basically a flat effect where they aren't able to communicate, they sort of a deadness in the look, to becoming animated and looking like lively people, tapping their feet, singing along, having conversations.
Yes.
And this is something where you can't even explain what's going to happen to the person. You just have to put on the music and see what the results are going to be. So in between those two extremes are pretty much all the rest of us. And when you're in that place of just feeling flat or even discouraged, or in other ways worried, but not in the sense of clinically depressed, just in a place where things don't seem to be happening. Wow, that's a great opportunity for music to come in. Mm. And it's really non-linear. To take somebody who's struggling with a business, for example, and saying, how am I going to get to the next week, right? To sit them down and say, well, we're going to spend 20 minutes with music now. It doesn't seem like it's got anything to do with the problem, right? But it has everything to do with how you approach the problem and putting yourself in what people like to call mindset, but it's more than that, or helping you spark up a little bit more emotional intelligence if your difficulty is dealing with an abusive boss, for example. Those are really good things, but music can speed it up. It can just leverage everything. And that connection that you're looking for, which the people who use neuroscience to sell stuff can explain to you in chapter and verse, that connection can be really simply accomplished with a drum. Just putting on a drum track before a meeting can put everybody on the same page. And physiologically, it's called entrainment, but physiologically it works. So, it's a great way of offering tools that, the normal business world or whatever, most of the normal world doesn't see as tools. They sort of see as like, why would we use music now? Mm-hmm. Well, why wouldn't you if it had these effects? So becoming acquainted with the effects opens the gateway for those of us who are in that place between at risk and no effect at all, to have additional ways of being able to connect, whether that's for a purpose of offering a service or winning a customer or just overcoming some, HR situation at work. There's marvelous ways that music can do that, provided that you look at it in a way that doesn't say it's either this or that, and those are the only options, right? There's this other option that exists that the science behind music can open up for you.
It really is so fascinating how it all works, especially in business. I mean, I imagine that improves their performance and it connects them together as a team.
It is interesting to say to a business person, you know how you work out to music? You took that run and you were listening all the way to something that really helped you, achieve what you wanted to achieve without the physical difficulty. Have you ever thought of using that when it comes to like your team meeting? And they look at you funny. I'm like, well, no, what do you mean, Bill? How would that work? And it can work from as the simple thing I mentioned about putting on a drum track in the background or whatever, to if you really want to engage people, start getting them to drum on the table. Do 3 minutes of drumming before the meeting starts. That changes everything. And it changes it in the way of bringing us more into connection as human beings rather than as boss and subordinate or team members. It just like breaks it down to a level where we can relate to each other, Yeah. And it's simple.
It's such a beautiful concept.
It works in practice too.
How are you using music care with people who are returning back from the military or from serving in some way? How are you working with the music with our vets?
This is a great question. People leave military service for all kinds of reasons. Some of them retire, of course, and some don't re-up. They don't re-enlist after their time is done. And in any case, even if you're released with a dishonorable discharge or some other reason, in every case, there's a process of unlearning your military culture and learning a civilian culture that in many ways is missing a lot of the things you came to rely on in the military. My son's serving in the Marine Corps Reserves, and he talks about his Marines, and he doesn't mean that they're his. He means that his crew is a unit. It totally relies on itself, and all the pieces and parts in it have drilled to work that way. And in addition to the job that they have to do, they're there for each other as battle buddies, which means emotional and mental support. Clearly, they support each other physically. No one's left behind. And that could be like encouraging someone who's falling behind on a long march, to keep going. Or it could be something like where you get a call late at night. And this has happened where my son got a call from one of his guys and he was feeling suicidal. And they were there for each other. Both of them were there for each other in a way that held the team together. But when you leave that environment and start a civilian life, you've got nothing. I mean, your unit is gone. You may be able to contact them, but they're not in daily partnership with you. So that the issues when you leave the military service have a lot to do with human connectivity, with authentic human connectivity. It's like being kicked out into the desert, really, where there's nobody. I mean, if you're married, then you've got your spouse, but the spouse is not at the same level of connection that you were when you were serving, if that makes any sense. Yeah. So music is a way that you can reconnect. And offering music to people who have just left that incredibly tight-knit, supportive environment allows those people to be able to say, hey, here I am sharing something that is beautiful for me with other people who also relate to that as beautiful. Maybe there's something here that's, although it's not as tight as it was when I was in service, maybe it's a way that I can begin to be a part of this new environment and make a contribution there and lean on other people who are making a contribution there as well. And if you will, it's the glue. So offering music to people in that place, whether they're at risk or being scraped off the street and in recovery, or they've come out as a full bird colonel and they're transitioning into an executive position, the sense of being alone is very much there. And what music does with that alone sense to reconnect you is one of the most powerful ways that transitioning veterans can engage with music and engage with civilians and others, to be able to sort of retain some sense that they are belonging, that they are part of, that this, civilian world that all the rest of us inhabit is a home for them, and that it's meaningful and that it matters.
How incredible is that? I mean, working with several vets myself, the transition from military to civilian is so substantial. And I had no idea before I started working with these amazing humans, the disconnect there was with us as civilians welcoming them back into this life. Like, it's so foreign. It's so different for them and for us, because they come back different also.
Oh yeah. When you're involved in what our military has to do these days, that changes you in ways that maybe you can replicate them if you're a first responder or something in the civilian world. But oh gosh, we've asked things of our men and women in service in the last, how long has it been? 18 years? Almost 18 years, that we haven't asked of our military service members ever before. This war on terror has just been crazy. Multiple deployments in ridiculous situations. And it's made people start to question, what really matters. This is new for America. So it changes you. And especially for kids who go in, maybe you've not ever had anything other than school or a broken family, and you wind up in the military some way, and all of a sudden you have something you've never had before, which is support, encouragement, family, camaraderie, buddies to lean on, a really supportive environment that encourages you to do your best and all of that. And, this isn't the case for all of it, but that's the general ethos that we hope for. And you come out at 26 or something, maybe younger, and that's been your that's how you've come to be an adult, and you're released into this world that is the crazy civilian world that we live in, where there are no guardrails, and things go crazy all the time, and it's just no structure for anything. What are you going to do there? Wow. It's amazing to me that our young veterans do as well as they do, really, coming from the environment that's so incredible for them, and then just getting dumped into the world at large. You know this from working with people who are in that situation too. And civilians, we do our best, and we say thank you for your service and stuff like that. But getting to the real heart of it, I mean, when you come out as a newly minted veteran, wow, you've been through the heart of darkness, because that's what this era is doing. And most of the people that you're going to encounter in life have resisted that heart of darkness journey, and they don't know. They don't know what it's like. and there you are, and you've got this special thing that you now have experienced, and nobody else around you. It's like if you showed up one day, for your high school education, and everybody else in the class had just finished third grade. What the heck is going on? Why am I here now? But those incredible people, as you said, are our next leaders. They're going to be the ones who navigate from where we are to where we need to be. And I think they'll do a great job with it. I've watched the results in San Diego of what the Vietnam veterans did, in spite of how they were dissed when they got back. They set up services, and today's new veterans are enjoying the benefits of those services the Vietnam people gave their lives for, really, in many ways. So today's veterans, they'll be doing that for the next, era, and leading the rest of us in a way too, because we can now say to Vietnam veterans and mean it, that we really do appreciate what they've done.
Yeah. Have you worked with your son personally since he's returned?
I have to laugh. My son is one of those guys who back in the day could play any of his video game themes on the saxophone.
Oh my God.
The piano's been around in the house forever, but I've never taught the kids to play. And I got a call like early this year, and my son was saying, what kind of keyboard should I get? I'm thinking, keyboard? What do you need a keyboard for? He's like, I want to learn to play this song. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, my son's asking me for piano lessons? And with YouTube and whatnot, I mean, he's doing okay. But it blew me away, to get that inquiry. And I just said a silent thank you, because music has always animated my kids' lives in special ways. And to see it animating his was a beautiful thing.
How has the music that you've played or shared with your family influenced them individually and you as a family unit?
Wow. I got to play a concert once, and my parents, who often attended, were there. And this is one of perhaps only 2 times in my life where I've ever seen my dad have the emotional response that he did. So one of the things on the program that night was a love song. And I'd kind of known that it was important, because when I was a little kid, I remember my parents singing this song to each other in sort of like a duet form, the way that old musicals used to be done. Mm-hmm. And of course, I've learned more recently, that the Beatles recorded it. So it's an important piece of music. It's a song from the Music Man called Till There Was You. And I had a program that night, and I played it. And after I finished, I do what most normal people do, stood at the piano and bowed and thanked the audience, and kind of looked over at my parents, and my dad was weeping. And I knew how special this song was for them, but I didn't realize it was that special, We all have our funny little love songs that we sing with our significant others and stuff, and that had been theirs, but I didn't realize how deep it went. And I feel that was a tremendous gift. First of all, that my parents gave to me, not really intending ever to, but that they did, because the music was present for me as a kid growing up. And then that sort of unknowingly, I kind of gave back to them and gave them the opportunity in this safe place of a concert hall to feel something that may have been very, very important for them at some level that I'll never know.
How beautiful is that?
Yeah.
How does that make you feel as a performer when you're able to touch and influence other people's lives in the way that you do?
Well, it's something that you kind of feel without ego. I think it's how I want to answer that. Like, I don't go into performing a piece with the intent of causing some response. For me, that feels misguided. I feel much more that my responsibility is to create an authentic expression of the emotions as deep as I can feel them, and then to allow whatever happens. And, as a classical pianist, that could be anything from people coughing in the middle where they shouldn't, to falling asleep and snoring, to, actually being engaged with the music. And so you become very compassionate and learn to accept all those responses. But there are times where it's fun to play with that by sort of announcing to the people what's going to happen next and saying, this is, how I feel it. I don't know how it's going to work for you, but let's try it together and see how you respond. And then there are times where I get to do things that are totally crazy. Like, there's a piece of music written by John Cage called 4 minutes, 33 seconds. And basically, the performer is supposed to assume the position, whatever that is at their instrument, whatever their performance position is, and to hold that position in silence for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. So you never actually make a note. And stuff like that is great fun. Of course, Cage's idea there is that the audience is creating music, and that your job as a performer is to hold the space and see what happens. But there are, utterly crazy pieces of music out there where you're one that I'm thinking of, I forget the name, but the performer is instructed to improvise until the last person has left the concert hall. So, musicians have a sense of humor too, or composers anyway. It takes a lot of guts to play stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I often have to remind myself, as my mom also said to me before I'd go on stage, she said, just have fun out there, Bill. And I think that that's the right attitude.
Yeah.
You know, I have something to say, but it's more important what you hear. So let me take my opinion and put it aside and offer the music as authentically as I can and sort of get out of the way of your experience.
Mm. Wow, what a beautiful response. I feel we can all relate to the authentic part, whether we're being authentic or not. Like let's put that aside, because I know that's a whole other experience in of itself. But being around someone who is showing up authentically and how it creates an experience and an emotion inside of us, that's magic. It really is.
It's a big risk. I mean, and it's new, I think, for many of us. Especially if, for example, you have to do a business presentation. It's your first, time on stage, or even presenting to a meeting. There's a risk involved in that, and it can be really scary. Mm-hmm. But with some practice, you learn to take the butterflies and help them fly in formation, as someone once said. And that practice becomes an incredible tool that will guide your experience of, offering information to people in a way that you can't even anticipate. And music itself gives us the opportunity to do that, whether we're playing for our own enjoyment or singing in the shower or whatever it is. That kind of practice can acquaint you with parts of yourself that you wouldn't otherwise be able to find and realize and actually acknowledge. Yeah. And they're amazing parts. I mean, yeah, the butterflies are there, but inside of you, when you let those butterflies all fly up and form up, you can uncover some things that are very powerful deep down in there. And as you said, AJ, they're authentic things. And they're part of all of us. Once you discover them and know how to access them, they can really, you can really leverage your performance with that stuff in whatever you're doing.
Right. I agree. I absolutely agree with that.
So this music here thing, part of it, the part that I love the most that I talked about earlier, is watching people come into contact with that about themselves. Mm. And then know that they can repeat that anytime they want. They can go there, get that, and use it. That's where the magic really happens. And that you can see in someone's face. They come up to you at the piano and you can tell they want to cry or something, but they can't quite figure out what to say. And often they'll say something like, "Thank you for playing that song. I really needed to hear it." So you know that there's some connection that's happened. They may not be aware of what it really is, but I know. I know, because it's happened so frequently.
Yeah.
And people want that. Let's go there. That's the good place.
Yeah, I really feel like we all are yearning for that connection or that emotion, because like you mentioned earlier, you weren't raised to be in touch with your feels. It wasn't something that was influenced in your world. Mine was very similar, and I think a lot of people do have that experience where they haven't been in touch with what they're feeling, and to mask those emotions, and being able to have the platform where they can show up and choose to do so, even if the words don't come to them, but have the physical emotion or reaction to the music, is life-changing.
Yeah, it's transformative.
Definitely.
I have the great privilege of performing, actually, in a veterans band. I was asked to join by some 3 veterans who were in recovery at the time, and we've continued. And I know those guys so well, but I don't know them as people so much as I know them as musicians. Mm. It's the same person, but I have this musical understanding of who they are that's really beautiful. And it does correlate in many ways with, the guys that I know as people, but it's deeper than that. It creates bonds that I think maybe are only mirrored by folks like maybe in the military. You get that intense bonding over music too. And you're there to catch the other guy when he needs a little bit of help on a solo or whatever. And he's there to catch you in the same way. And together you can make, harmonies happen if you're playing the same melody line or whatever. It's just this incredible unspoken connection, language, really. And it's not about proficiency. I know guys at all levels do this, from kids banging on drums together to the greatest jazz giants who are improvising. It's just part of the musical experience that you have when you're working with other musicians. Mm. And there's no reason you can't have that experience too by encouraging the simplest kind of music in situations where it may seem weird, but after you try it, becomes something you can rely on and kind of count on that.
Mm. Tell me how music has assisted you. You brought up earlier that later in the show you'll share with us how it has healed you, even from confronting suicide and looking at that path.
Yeah, thank you for asking that, AJ. This September is always, I guess, Suicide Awareness Month or something.
Yes, it
Suicide Prevention Month. My own story of being very, very deeply with the emotions in classical music means that at an early age, I was acquainted with the very deep feelings of sadness, of anger, of fear. There's a lot of that packed into classical music. And when you reach a certain level of proficiency on the piano, those are the songs you learn to play. For some strange reason, it's just that's how it was. And I was very comfortable with those songs because I felt those emotions deeply, chronically depressed and all that. And it was a great practice. Let's just say it was a great practice of being able to go deep into emotions. Well, as I began to learn how those emotions were minding me, I, of course, got very encouraged by this practice that I had in place. But it didn't do anything to sort of change the symptoms. At one point in my life, I felt like I'd done everything I came here to do. I didn't feel like I had any future meaning, that my purpose had been fulfilled, and that hanging around was just not necessary. I mean, it was really like that. I was surprised by my response to that because it seemed like a pretty objective response. Like, X, Y, Z, then, okay, this is where it stops. And instead of like trying to find a gun or reaching for rope, I decided to sit in the chair and put on a piece of music that had spoken to me very deeply for many years, and just put it on repeat and sit with the headphones and allow that music to play with me. I think I probably said, well, I can always do this tomorrow, but tonight I'm going to be with this music. I just need to I need to experience this one more time, before it's all over. This is important. So I sat in the chair, put on the headphones, and I started to listen. And one of the things that was surprising about that time was that as I listened, this sadness that I'd never known before, deeper than anything I'd ever experienced, and I'd been playing classical music for a long time by that time, it welled up inside me, and I just began to weep. And I can't tell you how long I sat there and wept. But at some point, I guess I started in the late afternoon listening, and some point, it was full dark, I woke up. And you know what? I really felt awake. I mean, the change was dramatic. I had just gone from a place of being completely flat in the space of only a few hours with nothing more than music and allowing it to work on me and feeling it that deeply. Mm. I'd woken up, and I didn't know what that meant. It wasn't about meaning so much, but I felt like something had changed, like there'd been some tiny spark of something that had changed everything for me. And long story short, of course it did. It had. And as I've investigated the science behind that experience, I feel, and this is supported by the research too, with other people, that our psychological willingness to go into the heart of darkness, to use that term we've done before, or if you're a Star Wars fan, to face Vader in, under Yoda's instruction, the final thing you have to do is to face yourself, face your deepest fear. I think that moment in the chair that night was the psychological equivalent of saying, yes, I give up, bring whatever you have for me to learn now, I'm ready. And the willingness to be that vulnerable opened up the potential that's become the rest of my life. And ironically enough, that was on Labor Day, Friday of Labor Day weekend, 2007. And here we are now, 12 years later, having just gone through Labor Day. And every Labor Day, I remember that experience as such a beautiful, transformative moment for me. Mm-hmm. But the crazy thing, and this is one of those things that is odd, but I'm going to say it anyway. So I still think about suicide. There are people that say, if you think about it, that's a problem. And I would prefer to say, well, thinking about it is all right, but acting on that's probably not the best way to go. But let's have the conversation. Let's destigmatize it. Let's talk about suicide the way we talk about getting a cold. It's part of the human condition.
Yes.
There are times where it just doesn't seem like you can go on. Those are the gateways, right? If we can seize the moment in that place and say, yes, this is where I am. Speak to me, whatever it is. Speak to me, music. Speak to me, friend. Speak to me, nature. Take yourself to the forest, whatever it is. That's the moment where transformation is possible. It's like the tipping point, if you will. Mm-hmm. And rather than shying away from it or being afraid of it, no, let's go there. Just, into the cave. Luke gave us a great guidance there. And so have all of the other people who've gone through that pathway. And this is a common theme in mythology and in myths of the heroes and whatever. Everybody's got to do that, And let's do that. Let's take that journey. That may be one way I think that veterans are head and shoulders above the rest of us, because they've had the opportunity through whatever they've had to do in service, and some of them in traumatic ways, to take that journey and to find out what they can do in that place. And what we can do in that place is amazing, you guys. It's the most amazing, transformative place you can be. So when it happens, let's welcome it. And know that you can do it with safety. I think that's another key thing too. It's not necessary to, find a rope or find a gun. I mean, the thing that matters is how you welcome that moment without having to really do anything about it, except be vulnerable and see what it has for you. See what's inside you, and you'll find it. It'll be there in amazing ways. Amazing ways.
What a perspective to hear that side of that experience. Thank you for being so authentic and vulnerable and sharing that experience with us first. As many people know, I have a small heart-centered healing space, and we're having our second annual Suicide Awareness and Mental Health Fair this month. We are a safe place for anybody who is having those thoughts or experiences, or anyone who has lost someone from that choice. But for you to share that perspective is such a beautiful thing to me personally, because I have gone through the darkness myself several times, and even still at times, wondering about the same things, but not the follow through. I have had that stigma against me, like, you need help or you're sick, but I've never looked at it that way. I've always looked at it as, I am at the end of my road. I am at the end of my rope. But I feel like in those moments of that complete darkness, when you allow the act of surrendering, is when the most beautiful and profound moments of your life can occur.
Yes. And we need them too. I mean, we really do.
And we need to have those conversations. These ones that we're having right now that are so challenging to have, so they're hard to talk about. They really are, but they're so incredibly important to share with each other.
We've done a good job, I think, as human beings. We have, Alcoholics Anonymous now, and it used to be a time when it was taboo to talk about drinking. And we've managed to destigmatize post-traumatic stress thanks to some amazing people who are military leaders and were willing to talk about their own journey. It's no longer the subject you never bring up at the dinner table because granddad will, get triggered. So let's do that for the other things that are hard for us to discuss too. Clearly, there's no shortage of them. They're all over the place now. We're revisiting racism and the whole gender thing, and there's just all of this opportunity out there. It sounds pretty terrible when you read about it in the news, but gosh, if you're non-binary gender, you got to come to grips with that because you can't do it any other way.
Mm-hmm.
And if coming to grips with that means that you have to be authentic and honest with your family, and your family disowns you because they don't agree with you, well, we can't let people who've taken that risk fall by the wayside. We need to be there for them in ways that let them continue their authenticity. And you know what? We're doing a pretty good job of that as a society. We're also doing a pretty good job on the color of our skin. There are lots of people out there who are able to transcend the hatred and stuff that goes along with the racism debate. We're trying to do a better job, like Me Too is doing a great job on the gender issues. But this is a flashpoint. We can't really make too much progress unless we're willing to go deep on this stuff. And
right.
the challenges go deep. And so we do.
And have those conversations.
Yes. Discuss it. Let it come up. And let it be, learn to practice compassion where we don't have to be there with any kind of judgment. Take that further into empathy. Walk alongside someone who's in that place for a while, and let them inform you. Not so much of what it feels like to be them, but what it's like to have someone who will walk with them. Right?
I think that's so important.
It's amazing. And in my own experience, I've met the most incredible people by being willing to do that. Blown up veterans, folks in recovery, people who just will never be anything but homeless, but are somehow managing to be okay with that. There's such incredible humanity out there.
What an amazing place that you're in your life where you're able to be there for others and be that voice and to start those conversations. That's good work. You're doing really great work, Bill.
Thank you, AJ. It's only because somebody else was there for me. I got to be honest with that. Without my teachers and guides throughout life, I wouldn't have been able to stand on their teaching and be here today. And I hope that people who are listening will stand on what they're learning too and take it to the next level.
Yeah,
we've got to. The opportunity is so huge.
I agree. I completely agree. Because we have a few more minutes, just for fun, I'm curious to know what direction you see us as humanity heading as far as the music therapy in schools and being covered by insurance, anything like that, where we are getting the help we need and having music as one of the biggest tools.
I'm encouraged. I'm much more encouraged by what's going on in science than what you read about in the paper. They're making some amazing strides in all kinds of areas. We talked about the phonon and things like that, but science is doing incredible stuff that can help us with the water shortage, the global water shortage, with even with climate change. They're able to find ways to do things thanks to the pressure that's on right now that we might not have found in any other way. Music has always sort of been alongside things rather than leading the charge in any of these directions. And that's a place I'm comfortable with. Maybe at some point, in the far distant future, it'll be leading in ways that it doesn't lead now. And it's easy to be discouraged. I mean, I'm a big proponent of symphonic music, and symphonies are struggling. They have been for about 30 years. Mm. And it's a difficult thing to say to somebody who has, $20 to spend, but they ought to spend it on the symphony versus, going out to coffee or something. But I think we're in the middle of this swing in the other direction and back maybe toward the arts. There's a movement in business that we need to have more humanities involved in business ethics, for example. Artificial intelligence is raising the need for folks who are able to be nuanced and understand paradox and can offer alternatives in ways that computer science can't. So we're kind of shifting away from our binary view of the world, if you will, into a more nonlinear, non-binary view. And I'm encouraged by that. But I think the thing that, to really answer your question, is that the pendulum seems to swing over millennia, really, between cultures that are matriarchal and cultures that are patriarchal. And as little, I know this sounds like a long time, but as little as, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 years ago, matriarchal cultures sort of dominated the world. And with them came all of the wonder and beauty of the arts, including music. And we're in a place right now where our current way of thinking in this patriarchal industrial world we live in is failing us on many of those levels, levels of compassion and empathy and the things that we'd think of more in the leadership of a matriarch than in a patriarch. I know this is like being gender sounding, and I don't really mean to intend it that way, but the real answer becomes being more of a whole person, being able to act with the best attributes of the woman, the best attributes of the man, and not in a gender sense, but in the sense of the qualities that are part of the expression of woman, the qualities that are part of the expression of man. And maybe, just maybe, we're getting to a place where it's okay for men to show affection and compassion and for women to show strength and leadership.
Yeah.
And that's a really good thing. So, music can open us up to that possibility on both sides, when it comes to an authoritative statement, music can offer us ways to express that authoritative statement that we may not have thought of before. You can think of the great leadership songs that are out there and the patriotic songs and stuff like that, if you like, or you can think of songs that are very gentle but that have an incredibly powerful point to them. Most ballads are that they're slow and they're making this beautiful poetic plea for one reason or another. That's a very matriarchal thing. Mm-hmm. And to hear a man sing a ballad, that's a huge risk. It's societally acceptable, of course, but that's the direction we're going, is we're learning how to sing each other's songs. As the old ways of doing that are failing, we're turning to the more intimate, more human ones, more ancient ones in many ways, because we've had music since we've been people. And using those ancient ways of being able to come across with what it is we need to say. So I find great encouragement in that. And, this goes way beyond the conversation of taboo subjects, but it does offer us a kind of a hopeful way forward as we look at whatever might happen to society. We're going to overcome all the current challenges we have, or maybe they'll overcome us and the world will end or whatever. But, isn't that really sort of sideline to what the real point is? They tell us that our souls go on way beyond our conscious existence on this planet. And certainly there's so much consciousness in the universe that we haven't yet come into contact with. So our little tiny, blue ocean of third rock from the sun in this distant galaxy, that's hardly related to anything that has to do with the universe. It's cool we're thinking about these things, but in the big picture, wow, let's get to a place where we can explore how consciousness works and what love's all about, and all those things that we look at as spiritual right now. Let's go there. Let's take that on.
Yes, and yes. I could not agree more. You have been such an amazing guest. I have thoroughly enjoyed my time with you.
Which is sadly almost over. You said you're right. 2 hours has gone by. Boom. Every
time. Regretfully, I say it goes by so fast. That's not my favorite part of Soul Wanderings. I could sit here for hours and have these conversations. They're so meaningful and so important to have. And the work you're doing is just phenomenal. And I'm so thankful that you're out in the world doing this type of work. It's just great.
Thank you, AJ. That means so much. I'm so grateful to have been here, and thank you and for the opportunity to sit around and chat about this stuff. It's
my pleasure. very much so. I want people to be able to learn more about you and contact you if they're interested in, because you offer music care for individuals and groups, and you also do presentations and workshops. So what does that look like, and how can they get in touch with you?
Really simple. Best way to connect with me is over at the Music Care Quest. The website is quest, Quest, .musiccare.net. And you'll find me there. Of course, that means you can spell my name in Google for me if you want to find other ways. But that's a good point of entry. And then, of course, there'll be show notes. You can hook up there. You'll find all kinds of stuff. I've got plenty of content out there, including video and articles and whatnot. And just take some time to peruse those things and, connect with what resonates with you, ask questions. The one thing that I don't want to have is any kind of a paywall between you and your question. So if you've got one, reach out to me. I'm available, and I'm here to answer them and hopefully provide a little bit of guidance so you can move to the next place in your journey.
That's so good. I'm glad that you shared that website, because I went to your website, billprotzmann.com.
Oh, yes.
Which is another one that's good for everyone to check into. But I do want to acknowledge that, on both websites, it is mentioned that you've been recognized by the National Council for Behavioral Health with an Award of Excellence, which is the industry equivalent of winning an Oscar.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy, huh?
That's really awesome. Kudos
little
to
piano
you.
player. Thank you.
That really is. And I hope that you stop and take those moments to really soak in who you are and the influence that you have on others and the good work that you're doing in the world.
Oh, thank you. It warms my heart to hear you say that, AJ. Thanks.
Well, we get so busy living our passion and having our purpose and doing these amazing things that we don't always stop and really soak in how substantial that is. I like to just give that reminder, not like I'm telling you what to do, but just remind you, you are a phenomenal human being, and I hope you always remember that.
Oh, thank you. I shall. And your encouragement means so much. It truly does.
Thank you. Well, again, it's been a wonderful show, and I'm so thankful to have you here. Make sure you guys head on over to one or both of his websites, Bill Protzmann, PROTZMANN.com, or quest.musiccare.net. Awesome. You have a lovely night, Bill. Thanks again for being here with us.
You're so welcome, AJ. Thank you.
Soul Wanderings can be found on all the social media platforms, as well as social media. Here we go. As well as soulwanderings.com. That's where you can connect to the social media platforms very easily. And of course, I always encourage you all to follow KGRA Radio on all the platforms, Facebook, on Stellar, YouTube. It's so important that we continue to have these conversations that bring awareness into our experiences. It's so good for us to do. And as always, I'm appreciative for all of you spending time with myself and my guests, and a big shout out to my KGRA family producers back here. I am such a lucky girl. I love soul wandering with all of you. Thank you, everyone, and happy day.